Hey, what's up? I just wanted to talk about that Nancy Pelosi ripping up Donald Trump's State of the Union speech because he wouldn't shake her hand. Like, really? You think that I want to shake your hand if you're trying to impeach me? Like, why would he want to shake your hand? Like, we just doing business at this point. You trying to impeach me or what have you, and we just, at this point, we just communicating when we have to. We're not being friends. You understand what I'm saying? You're trying to get me out of office. You know, every time it's something against Donald Trump, it's always her name. You know, she's always the front runner to try to tarnish his name. Now, I'm not a Republican, I'm a Democrat. I voted for Hillary Clinton. I didn't even vote for Donald Trump. You know, but while everybody else don't like him, in some ways, you know, I do, you know, because with President Obama, even though he was a black president, you know, he was trying to be too careful. He don't want to offend the blacks, and he don't want to offend the whites, and he don't want to take this side, and he don't want to take that side. At least when Donald Trump talk, you know, he's clear. You know, you clear on the situation. Even if, you know, you think that he got some prejudiceness going on with him or what have you, we all do. You know, we all have that, or whatever the situation is. And being in his position, in that president's position, I think I think he'll get better with that. You know what I'm saying? With the race issue, I think he'll get better with it. You know, now that he has to deal with all people, he's just not like a rich guy that, you know, just sits around, you know, with his white people or whatever the situation is. Now he's getting a lot of feedback from, you know, every race. You know what I'm saying? Like the Mexicans, the blacks, you know, they like, oh, you know, you're racist or whatever the situation is. But I know one thing, you know, about him that I do like is that he responds to everybody. He's a president that say, okay, you know, I'm the president, and y'all think y'all gonna be saying what y'all want to say, and I'm on social media with y'all. Not only that, you know, he's a public figure before he became president. So he already had his Twitter handle, the real Donald Trump. He already had that Twitter handle because I was following him before he became president and what have you. So, you know, everybody already knew him. So to talk slick while he's the president and think he's going to be quiet and whatever the situation is, and he respond back, you know. He even respond back to Snoop Dogg, you know what I'm saying? And everybody was like surprised and shit and laughing. Oh, he respond back to Snoop Doggy Dogg, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, he responded back and shit like that. You know, you say something and, you know, I'm saying something back. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, you hit me and I'm hitting you back. You know what I'm saying? But with Nancy, she seemed like she's getting a little bit desperate for, you know, I like her boldness, you know, because, you know, she's a woman and she seemed like she being tough and, you know, she kind of like pushing him around or whatever the situation is. But you don't want to look too desperate, you know. You don't want to look I don't know how to say it, like you doing it on meanness, you know what I'm saying, or you being on purpose, you're doing it on meanness or purpose or whatever the situation is. You know, if you're trying to impeach him or whatever the situation is, you're trying to impeach him on the rules or whatever, or the laws or whatever. I'm not really political, so I don't know how to talk or like that or whatever the situation is, but you want to, you know, follow the rules by the books or whatever the situation is. Your personal attitude is the problem. It's like you got a personal vendetta, you know what I'm saying? You and him was friends at one time, and then y'all not friends or something no more. Or, you know, he seemed like he was somebody that was your ex, and, you know, and you're upset or whatever the situation is. You know, Nancy Pelosi is looking too, it's starting to look too personal. You know what I'm saying? It's starting to look too personal with Donald Trump. And I know a lot of people have issues with him, but one thing I like about him, because I'm a licensed real estate broker, you know, in New York or whatever the situation is. So I grew up admiring Donald Trump for, you know, building these buildings and all, you know, and all of that. You know, I watched all his construction and all of that stuff going on and stuff like that, you know what I'm saying? And I know people that worked, you know, as real estate agents, you know, for him and stuff like that. So, my thing, the reason why I was happy that he came into office, because, you know, I'm into real estate, and we got a real estate president or whatever the situation is, and, you know, the years of Barack Obama's been in office, you know, I was having a real hard time. And, you know, a lot of gangs and stuff, you know, like, even, you know, he's from Chicago or whatever the situation is, and he didn't, like, stop, you know, the situation. You all the way on top. You in the presidency, you can, you know, try to control what's going on, and, you know, make a change in Chicago about what's going on, or whatever, you know, those brothers out there need, or what have you, to stop killing each other, or what the families need. You could have provided for your people or whatever the situation is. So now that Donald Trump is in office, you know, don't get mad at him for helping his people out. You know what I'm saying? Don't get mad at his people for supporting him. The problem with black people is that we don't like to support each other. We like crabs in the barrel and stuff. You see somebody, you know, coming, you know, getting having some success, whether it's in business, whether it's the rappers or whatever, you know, you shooting them down, you know what I'm saying? Or, you know, you're talking bad about them, or what, are you backstabbing, or whatever the situation is. So, you know, don't get, you know, mad at Donald Trump because he went into office and, you know, he doing whatever and his people is happy, you know, because we had our black president in there, and, you know, he wanted to be all fair. Barack Obama wanted to be all fair, you know what I'm saying? Oh, if I do this for the black people and stuff like that, then, you know, the white people going to be mad. If I do this for the white people, then the black people going to be mad. So, to me, basically, you know, it wasn't really nothing that I really seen that he got done, you know, other than, I guess they say those Obama phones, you know, those is good, you know what I'm saying, or whatever the situation is, a free phone or whatever for everybody. That was good. I don't know about his health care, because I wouldn't join that, you know, or whatever. You know, I already had my health care that I'm sticking with, you know. So, yeah, with Nancy Pelosi, why would you be moving so forward and so hard to impeach a president that we supposed to be standing behind? And the reason why, regardless of what's going on, or regardless of the differences he have in the United States with the people, or whatever the situation is, once that situation happened in Iran where he bombed the guy, what have you, and they put a 80 million hit on his head, or whatever the situation is. Now at this point, it's time, you know, that we you know, stick behind him, because of the fact that, you know, they put a hit out on him and shit like that. That's our president and shit like that, and we gonna have to, you know, stand behind our people. They over there, they gonna stand behind their people. You know what I'm saying? Everybody gonna stand behind their people, but when it come down to United States and stuff like that, we don't stand. What you want them to come over here, kill our president? They come over here, kill our president. You want them to come over here and take over and put their rules down on us and shit like that. No, we on this side. We on the United States side, and the president of the United States is Donald Trump. So we have to, stand behind him. So when it come down to that impeachment stuff, I think, okay, you had a solid reason, to move for the impeachment or whatever the situation is. You got a whole bunch of Democrats behind you, whatever the situation is, and y'all voted, y'all got the impeachment, so you got to take it to wherever the Senate or whatever the situation is. I guess the Republicans is going to stick on his side or whatever the situation is. So I guess we're going to see the outcome today or whatever, or sometime this week. But I just feel like, we should be standing behind our president in a time of possible, maybe a war jump off or something like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, he made a move and stuff like that on them, and then they turned around and asked all they people out there chanting and stuff like that. Everybody put up $1. There's 80 million people who put up $1, and we want to put a hit on his head and all of that stuff like that. So, I think at that point, I don't think the impeachment thing was important. You know what I'm saying? Whether he took it serious or whether the United States took it serious or not, I think that's something to take serious. They knocked down the World Trade Center. You know what I'm saying? Not Iran, but the terrorists. Like they found a way. They got up on the plane, hijacked them planes and stuff like that, and took them straight into the building. They crazy out there. To make they put bring their point across, they'll kill themselves in the situation. They're gonna hijack the plane. They know they're going into the building, and they gonna kill the people on the plane, destroy the building and themselves. Like, who wants to do that? Who wants to really end their own life and stuff like that? But I guess according to their religion or whatever the situation is, I guess, they believe they going to, their afterlife or whatever, So whatever they believe in, I don't know what they believe in or whatever the situation is, but with the terrorists and stuff like that shit, they strapping up with bombs and all kind of stuff like that. So if our president has a hit, 80 million, you know what I'm saying? Come on now, you know what I'm saying? That's a lot of money. A motherfucker would want to do that. A motherfucker would want to negotiate that and get that money and make Iran have to pay them. A motherfucker would try that shit. You know what I'm saying? So, anybody could get it or whatever the situation is and stuff like that. So you can't put nothing past nobody and stuff like that. But with Donald Trump, I don't know. It just seemed like when he came into office, like they just started shutting down the gangs and stuff. Like the blood gang was getting strong and stuff like that, and they ran around to all the projects and just started giving them the RICO law and the conspiracy charge and stuff like that. So instead of like, oh, we're gonna lock up with this one guy, this guy here, and that guy here, they grouped them all together to get them off the, weaken the gang and stuff like that, because they don't want nothing black to be, grow strong anyway. You understand what I'm saying? But I was happy for it because of the fact that, I'm neutral, but I was happy for it because instead of, if you're going to be a blood or you're going to be a Crip, go in the field and fight each other. You know what I'm saying? Don't be like in your neighborhood, like destroying your neighborhood, scaring the old people, scaring me. You know what I'm saying? Like, come on. And I used to run the streets and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? Don't stand in front of the building and bother the little kids and the mothers taking their babies to school and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? So, I think that when Obama was in office, the gangs had got very strong. They had got very strong, and he didn't have, he didn't really put a push to shut them down, and he didn't do anything in Chicago to try to stop the killings and stuff, out there and stuff. That was a lot of killing and stuff like that. For to have a president that was black and come from there and don't try to do nothing for them, for the Chicago all of that black on black violence and stuff like that. That was crazy. As soon as Trump came into office, he was like, yeah, he'll send in whoever, I guess the military or whatever, to put the situation in check. And then they were saying, no, we could do it ourselves. We could, control that situation. You can't control that situation yourself. You can't, because if you can control that situation yourself, you would have controlled that situation. You understand what I'm saying? You would have it under control and stuff like that. And so many people have died, and little kids, getting shot in the crossfire and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? If you could have done something, you would have done something. So let the man go in and chill that shit down. You know what I'm saying? If he gotta go lock up a whole bunch of niggas, you understand what I'm saying? Get that shit under control and stuff like that, because what's gonna happen? You know what I'm saying? Like, there's people, I'm quite sure there's people that's like poor there, they on public assistance, disability, or whatever their situation is, that they can't jump up and move like, anybody else or whatever the situation is. So they stuck in a situation. I know how the feeling is when you live in the projects and you can't even go to the store. You understand what I'm saying? You can't even, without passing through a whole bunch of, niggas hanging around and, making gang signs and all of that stuff like that. I done been through that and stuff like that. So, it just, to me, let me get back on subject and stuff like that, because I got my own personal issues and shit with different shit, with our people or whatever the situation is. But when Donald Trump came into office, the one thing that I did notice is that they ran around and started, slowing down the gangs and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? And, I just think, with the tensions, with the high tensions with Iran and stuff like that, and them wanting to put a hit out on him and stuff like that. And who was that, George Lopez or whoever that, said he'll do it for half and made a joke and stuff like that about it. That's not a joke. That's not a, put yourself in that man's situation and have to move around. And he not no, young guy. He's like, what, 70s, 80s? I don't know how old Donald Trump is or whatever the situation is. He got his security and all of that stuff like that, and his special, moving and stuff like that. But still, you know what I'm saying? They killed Kennedy, you know what I'm saying? So, it's not like it can't happen and stuff like that. So I just think that we should stick behind our president, I think we should stick behind our president at a time where tensions is high and threats is being made and stuff like that. So, he didn't shake her hand, he was just there, doing his speech, conducting business, and then she reached out with a handshake, like a handshake. You trying to, kick me out of position, you trying to make, you're tarnishing my presidency, my name, you know what I'm saying? So, I don't know, what to say about it no more, but the Democrats are starting to look a little thirsty right now. You know what I'm saying? They're starting to look a little thirsty for, to knock him down. You know what I'm saying? And I'm a Democrat, you know what I'm saying? But, go ahead and stick by the books, your personal attitude, ripping up that paperwork, even though if it was, after the speech, he didn't need the paperwork no more, he got paperwork in that same paperwork in the computer, whatever. It looks bad, it didn't look professional. And one thing, and we learn in school and stuff like that, is professionalism in any profession that you're in, like even with music, if you go to school for music producing or something like that, like I did, I got a degree in music production and stuff like that, and we got extra credit every month for professionalism, for staying professional, you know what I'm saying? She didn't open her mouth and curse him out, or she ain't slap him in the back of the head or nothing like that. But she did was ripping up that paper like, she had a nasty attitude and stuff like that. So, yeah. I'm really not with that and stuff like that, because she's starting to seem like, she want to fight, she want to have a personal fight and stuff like that, you know what I'm saying? Like, if she could, she'd, haul off and punch him or square up with him or something like that, you know what I'm saying? So, if you're going to represent the Democratic Party or whatever the situation is, just stay professional. Just stay professional, and we like to see you that way. You're very smart, and don't go out like that. You know what I'm saying? Because turn around and you trying to impeach him, they're gonna end up in knocking Nancy Pelosi down. Like, you getting too bold and irate, ripping up papers and shit like that. So. Yeah, I didn't really want to make this a long live or whatever the situation is, and y'all don't have to like Donald Trump or whatever the situation is, but I'm quite sure if if you was president and you was in office, and with the way social media is now and stuff like that, and everybody talking crap and stuff like that, and before he was a president, he was a celebrity, he was a millionaire in construction, and in the real estate and stuff like that, and he was also a celebrity, had a TV show and all of that stuff like that. So, the people know him and everything like that. So, they say something, he see it, or he hear about it, or, his people going to tell him, such and such said, Snoop Dogg said such and such, or whatever the situation. And then he got to get back and reply, yeah, because, Snoop Dogg ain't no little guy. He traveled all over the world. Everybody knows Snoop Dogg and stuff like that. So his word is going to spread out, whatever, if he says something about somebody or whatever the situation is. So he's big enough that, Donald Trump can respond, even though you got a name like Snoop Doggy Dogg, like, a character name or whatever the situation is. But, yeah, you big enough to be responded to. You know what I'm saying? So, that shit is crazy, but, yeah, I just wanted to speak on the situation and stuff like that. Why you think somebody want to shake your hand if you fighting with them? You fighting with them, why you think somebody want to shake your hand, Nancy Pelosi? And I'm a Democrat, but I'm feeling like I need to go and turn and be a Republican and stuff like that, because I need my representation to stay professional. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to see the person that's representing my party or what have you, act like somebody, on the street. You know what I'm saying? Like, you ripping up stuff or whatever the situation is. It didn't look proper. We ain't never seen no nothing like that, before. Right behind his head, just like tearing up papers and stuff like that. Even if it wasn't his speech that you was ripping up, it could have been your own speech you was ripping up. Just ripping up paper just looked at, angry. You know what I'm saying? Look like you angry, and you have a personal anger. You understand? You taking this situation home with you and stuff like that. And I know a lot of political people, they do. They take their anger and stuff like that from work, they take it home, and they live it. And you understand what I'm saying? And they getting too personal. It's getting too personal with it. But as far as the United States and Iran and that tension and stuff like that is concerned, I think whoever our president is, if we having tension with another country or whatever the situation is, we need to stick on the side of our president, no matter how we feel about him. And any trying to take him out of office or impeachment and stuff like that should be put on hold until the situation is in check. That's the way I feel about it. Everything is in check. Yeah, we have our issues with him over here, but y'all not gonna do nothing to him. You understand what I'm saying? Because if we allow y'all to do something to him, then that means we allow y'all to come over here and just take over our country. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? And then things will be haywire. We don't want nobody to come over here. I think in the United States, even though people's in the struggle, whatever, we have, as long as you work hard or whatever the situation is in these days and times and stuff like that, you can make it. It's not really equality with the jobs and money wise or whatever the situation is. It's harder for us or whatever the situation is, harder for minorities or whatever the situation is. But a lot of people doing their own business, being independent. You know what I'm saying? You can't get a job, you go out there and hustle, and there's plenty of legal hustles and stuff like that. So everybody's coming here. You understand? That's why everybody, they on boats. The Mexicans, they crossing borders. They, he trying to put up the wall and stop people from coming over here, because they come over here, they take the jobs, and they take the jobs for less. You know what I'm saying? And people raise an issue with that. Oh, don't build the wall or whatever the situation is. Listen, our ancestors were slaves. They built this country on the backs of slaves. You understand what I'm saying? So we don't need nobody to come in here, Mexicans or nobody else, to come over here and take the jobs up. You understand what I'm saying? Because, if we're not going to give reparations, at least we could, be the first for employment. How we gonna be black Americans over here, and everybody could come over here and get jobs and get money for businesses, get financing, and they open up these stores and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? And they even living in better communities than we are. I've seen the Mexicans, they take 5 to 10 people and rent a house in a good neighborhood or apartment, a big apartment in a good neighborhood, and some work in the daytime and some work at night, and they'll all get along so that they could live in Riverdale, or the good community, a good community. So we should be more like that. You know what I'm saying? But in my family, we can't. Me and my sisters can't even live together and get along. Me and none of my cousins or brothers, or nobody in my family could live. We all gotta have a place. So we don't really stick together and stuff like that. But they'll come over here and stick together and take the jobs that's ours. You understand what I'm saying? So. I'm almost a half an hour into this recording or whatever the situation is, but I just want to tell the Democrats, chill out, stop looking so desperate, to take Donald Trump out of office and stuff like that. And I don't want no other country to come over here and take over the United States and then steal their rules and stuff like that, because most of them, they women are wearing them covering, they gotta cover their face and women is not equal and stuff, and everything that we've been fighting for equality around here would all change and stuff like that. So no, I don't want Iran to put no hit on President Trump. I don't want to see no impeachment when the tensions is high and they got a hit on our president's head, no matter who the president is, and I agree with Donald Trump. Yeah, be Twitter fingers. Somebody say something, you say something back, just like your mother taught you. If somebody hit you, you hit them back. You understand what I'm saying? So I'm gonna be out. So peace.